Um, but like, the Wii U is really hard to program for, according to 99% of developers I've heard that weren't like a Nintendo employee. I don't know. I was gonna just try rebooting the game in case it just loaded the Octo expansion. This place is super tropical. I feel like I'm vacationing from rather here. It's just a short train ride from Inkopolis Square. Wow. Also, it took me a while to realize this Inkopolis Square for this game is not the same Inkopolis Square from the first game. Oh man, we got Grisco going on here. Salmon Run, anyway. That's it. I was just making sure it didn't, like... Anyway, the Wii U, I think, the harshest blow to the poor Wii U was the fact that it was really hard to program for. Um, because that, uh, that made it really hard to support as a third party because you don't want to waste your time having your game designers relearn how to build what they have in mind just for the Wii U, you know? So it was really hard to support as a third party if you didn't have enough money to sink into like R&D. So that was the biggest nail in the Wii U's coffin, other than the fact that it was following the Wii, which is like arguably the most successful Nintendo console, except for maybe like the Super Nintendo or the Nintendo. So like it had incredible shoes to fill, and the misstep was huge. And it's unfortunate because the two screens concept as a player of games is really cool. um, but as a programmer of games, I can respect why that was a big deal breaker. Especially with the limited processor that was on the thing. Like, the processor was all fine and dandy, don't get me wrong, but Nintendo likes to think in decayed motion with hardware, so to speak. If that makes any kind of sense. Like, they like to be one step behind in hardware so that their, the gimmick of the console can not be the only thing driving up such that the gimmick of the console is the only thing driving up the price of the console itself, so that they can sell to a broader market. And it's a wonderful marketing strategy. The only issue was that idea kind of shot the Wii U in the foot because it didn't have enough processor. What would have made the most sense for the Wii U is have the gamepad have its own little processor, right? Have its own little processor, live in its life, have its own little processes, while the main console did the bulk of the work, and this other little processor did the work to make the things happen on the Wii U gamepad. But the difficulty arose when there was one main processor doing everything, so you kind of had to delegate between, okay, right now, while we're not doing too much for the main rendering process, send some signals out to the gamepad. So that's why the gamepad really didn't do much in third-party games beyond like, oh, here's your map. Oh, here's a fast travel button. Not a lot. And it's starkly obvious when you look at the difference between what the Wii U gamepad was used for in a third-party game and what the Wii U gamepad was used for in the first-party Nintendo games, because the Nintendo developers had a lot of help. Server maintenance is starting. That's cool. Thank you. Um, it, and it's a shame. You know, a few little hardware tweaks would have not solved the Wii U's problems. It had quite a few other problems, but it would have, been nice. It would have made it a little easier to program for. It would have gotten one of the many hurdles in its way out of the way. And I think the Switch is everything that the Wii U should have been. Everything that the Wii U was striving for and missed. Sure, it doesn't have the two-screen concept, but it has that element of pick up the game and go. Because you got a little tiny taste of that with the Wii U gamepad when you turned it off of TV mode and you just had the one screen in the gamepad letting you play a console game. And the Switch feels like a natural extension of that. And it works beautifully. That's just. And the Switch is, a little further ahead hardware wise because the Wii U came out, amidst like super early console generation wise. So it was even more behind when the PS4 and the Xbox One came out. So then the Switch comes out, and now hardware is decayed enough that it has some really good, it has enough oomph to keep up with the people who are like, it needs to have 1080p's and it needs to run at a minimum of 34.2 frames per second. It's like, ugh. I've never been one to care about frame rate. I'm not sensitive to that sort of thing. I've never been one to care about graphics as long as there's an art style. But, some people, that's their bag. That's what they get on about, and I respect that, And the Switch has enough oomph to do cool things. And that's something else that sets it apart from the Wii U. And it actually has, unique branding, which is a huge hurdle out of its way. The biggest hurdle to the average consumer was seeing the Wii U and going, I already have a Wii. Why do I need a Wii U? It's alright, I'll skip it. So that was a huge hurdle out of its way. And just the radically different concept of having, glomming Nintendo's two major markets together. Because Nintendo for a long, long time, they have the mobile market, which they had a huge dominance in until cell phones started being able to play games, and now they still have a major dominance in, especially if you count the Switch. They took the mobile market, and they took the home console market, and they just glommed them together, so now they have this huge, huge, huge player base to pick from. That's something that's helping the Switch sell really well. And the Joy-Cons. Let me talk about the Joy-Cons. That's another huge selling point for the Switch, in my opinion. It's like the Wii Remote on steroids. Like, the Wii Remote was already very, hang on, I'm gonna grab my Wii Remote for speaking purposes. The Wii Remote was already really, just kind of hand somebody a controller. Alright, man, hop in. But, they're still, and, oof. They were very, hand somebody a controller and hop in, but there's only so many buttons. And there's only so many Wiimotes you can have on a Wii. You can only have 4. That was a limitation of the Bluetooth transmission methods at the time, which is unfortunate. But the Joy-Con is a natural evolution of the Wiimote, if you ask me. It's a genius design. They both of these work together as one ordinary normal controller that, more experienced gamers are used to. But they split in half to be a very simplified controller that the older gamers that, haven't played games in a while and they're not used to all the buttons on the new controllers, they can just pick this up and play, man. It's like picking up a Super Nintendo controller, but instead of a D-pad, there's an analog stick. It's pretty easy, low learning curve, and it makes it super easy when you have someone walk up to you and be like, hey man, you're playing the Switch, can I get in on that? You just split your controller you were using in half and toss them a Joy-Con, man. It's very much, in line with the Nintendo spirit of, hey man, come join us, so to speak. And I just think the Switch as a whole does so well because, first of all, it's Nintendo doing something good after a misstep, so people are like, yes, I can get back on the bandwagon, heck yes. That was a huge sentiment that I heard on the Switch's launch. They were like, yes, Nintendo's good again. And it's the fact that it's a natural evolution of where they looked at what they did wrong with the Wii U and said, alright, we're going to fix these things, and we're going to include some new things because of the passage of time. And that's why I think the Switch is just a wondrous console. It sells well in no small part thanks to it being just so clearly a Nintendo console. the consoles that sell slightly poorly in my mind from Nintendo are when Nintendo kind of steps away from that, family vibe of I want to get in I want to get as many people as I can to play with me. I want this to be a system that uh, really broadly uh, appeals to the common person, and they kind of try and step into the normal console sphere of I want to make a brown and muscles rendering machine that plays real pretty games. For them, they're adults. But yeah, man, I would definitely like, especially with all the new releases coming. You'll have no shortage of games to find. It, if you find the cash for it, I would definitely pick it up. I don't know. I'm the biggest Nintendo fanboy on the block, though. I've literally only one console generation out of since the Super Nintendo until now. I was not a Nintendo kid, and that was mostly a fluke, honestly. Like, the only console generation that I didn't go all in on a Nintendo console was the PlayStation 1, because it's the PlayStation 1, come on. It's like I don't know. It was mostly like hype about CDs that got me into the PlayStation 1. But like, I've been playing video games all my life, and I was old enough to be cognizant about video games at the tail end of the Super Nintendo era. So I've been around for a long time as far as games go, and I'm very optimistic about the future of video games, because as we continue to, you know, uh, as we continue to march forward, thanks to Moore's Law, in no small part Moore's Law, as we continue to march forward with games as an art form, we can tell such beautiful stories, and they're so much more accessible, and they're so much better looking, you know? So we're undergoing server maintenance on Sploon right now. I am going to close out Sploon for now. I'm going to put up the BRB. I'm going to grab some water so I don't A, strain my voice to death, and B, melt while I'm out. Uh, do I have anything to do for while people are out and about? While I'm out, I guess you can play with Nightbot. Nightbot has commands you can mess with, I guess. I think. Other than that, I don't want to set up drop mix for like a 30-minute interlude. It's not gonna be that long. Um, I'm just gonna be right back. Play with Nightbot. Open somebody else's stream, but feel free to come back. I'll be back super quickly. I'm just gonna grab some water, try and cool down a little bit. But I'll be back, I promise. See what Nightbot has to say. There's some neat commands in there, I think. Anyway, play nice, everyone. I will be right back. I wasn't lying. I said I was gonna be right back. It was not that long. I hope, anyway. You know what we're gonna do? Uh, since we've probably got some time before Splatoon gets into full update swing mode, I'm tempted to just lean in to the Nintendo vibe we got going today, and just play some Breath of the Wild Master Mode. But another option we have is we could just futz around with drop mix, hear some tunes. Uh, I'll leave that up to Bear Paw Miner and the rest of the chat here. What are you guys feeling? You wanna see me get stressed out at master mode, or are you feeling some drop mix? You wanna hear me, DJ some songs together with NFC cards? What do you guys think? But while we wait, yeah, I saw a couple. I saw you used at least two of the Nightbot commands that exist. One of them is just for Nightbot to be like, "Hey, bro, these are what my commands are," and the other one you used was my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel is not just stream VODs, although it does have that if you missed something. Sometimes the stream VODs go up piecemeal, so you gotta wait to see what you missed. But those make them it makes it a little more digestible as well. Um, for the average viewer who doesn't necessarily, or it makes it easier to say, oh, I missed this part of the stream, so you don't have to scrub through like an hour-long video trying to find what you missed. There are 4 20-minute videos to, pick through and scrub through those, and it's a little more granular. It's a little easier to find what you're looking for. That's part of what my YouTube channel is stream VODs. In addition, anytime I do a Paper Cuts episode on Friday where I read a book, that thing goes up in whole, no ifs, buts, coconuts, or chop outs on Saturdays, provided I have the internet to get it up at the right time. If it doesn't go up on Saturday, it guaranteed goes up on Sunday without fail. What else? As far as YouTube goes, there's a Monday video. It's usually what I call Frozen Tundra Finds. It's my first impressions video where I pull a game off the shelf, whether it be off of my physical shelf off to the right of me or off of a digital shelf. It's usually a digital shelf, if I'm honest. And I play it for 20-30 minutes and say what I think about it. And it's called Frozen Tundra Finds because we find it, and my name's Glacier Nestor. Branding. Normally that's what it is. Right now, Frozen Tundra Finds just had its season finale a couple weeks ago, and what that means is I pick one of the games out of the 15 episode season. I pick one of the games out of the 15 episode season and say, I want this one. We're going to play this one. And while I play through the rest of that game, what happens is everyone else who is a viewer goes through the remaining 14 episodes of Frozen Tundra Finds from that season and says, I want this one, or that one, or this one. They pick 3. And whichever one gets the most votes, along with whichever one I want to play the most. I have a little bit of executive decision, but it mostly comes down to votes. Whichever one gets the most votes, I pick that one out of the find pile, and we play that one through to the end. Last time we did Frozen Tundra Finds, the first season of Frozen Tundra Finds, I hadn't refined the process yet, so we just kind of had what I was doing on Thursday during that season on Monday as well while we waited, and people picked Tron Evolution, Tron Evolution, and that's what won, so to speak, Frozen Tundra Finds Season 1. Season 2, there's no clear frontrunner yet, so feel free to get your votes in. Do I have that link on hand? Hang on. I bet you I can go find that, put that in chat for you. goo.goal/that. Yes. If you feel like voting, if you're in a voting mood, since we're waiting anyway, go ahead, go vote on the Frozen Tundra Finds poll. Feel free. If none of the game titles make any sense to you, I mean, the Frozen Tundra Finds episodes are there for a reason. They're my first 30 minutes into a game, so they work great as a foray into, do I want to see more of this game, And feel free to vote. We got at least a couple weeks left in the game that I pulled out of the finds pile, Orbiant. We have guaranteed at least 4 or 5 more weeks to vote, for sure, just due to the length of the game. beyond due to what I have recorded, I should say, because I recorded a long way in advance, given the fact that I have a job and I need to not have my content flow stop just because I have a job. Um, and you'll have a few weeks to vote if you're down. I mostly give those few weeks for uh, the sake of viewers who drop in for one or two Frozen Tundra Finds episodes and don't realize that I'm not picking a different game each week. Uh, but it's usually a pretty big spread of time while we wait for the season 2 winner. And then while we play the season 2 winner, while we play the season and while we play the winner that I chose, uh, I go and find more Frozen Tundra Finds games, and then after we finish the viewer selection, we'll we'll find 15 more games, and the process will repeat. It's it's honestly just it's one of my favorite shows to do because it exposes me to such a huge variety of games. It's very easy as a player of games to fall into a rhythm and say, I like this genre of games. I'm only going to play this genre of games. Also, I didn't put up the face cam layout. I should have done that. You guys were just looking at a bookshelf for a while. Also, that's no ordinary bookshelf. I should say that's actually the bookshelf that I had from, let's say, late elementary school until high school, until the end of high school. So if you saw any books you liked, that's my taste. Don't worry. If you saw any books you hated, sorry, that's my taste. um, what else? What was I talking about? Oh, Frozen Tundra Finds. Frozen Tundra Finds really helps me branch out into games I would never have played normally. Like, I think one of the episodes I did for Frozen Tundra Finds was a little indie game called. Uh, there was some indie game I played on Frozen Tundra Finds that I would never have touched with a 1,000-foot pole in my ordinary gaming life, but I picked it for Frozen Tundra Finds because it looked kind of interesting. I think it was like Gone Viral. That's what it was called. Um, it was in the first season of Frozen Tundra Finds, unfortunately, so it's not an option this season. Actually, once we get to like 5 seasons, I might have an All Stars, so to speak, season where I pick another one out of the 5 seasons that we have, and ooh, I like this idea. I'm gonna put a pin in this idea. All Stars season of Frozen Tundra Finds. Let me write this down. I like this. Uh, where do I put this? Let's put it in. No, these are where all my YouTube links are. I'm just gonna make a new note. Uh, Frozen Tundra Finds All Stars. After 5 seasons of Frozen Tundra Finds, pick one more game out of the whole series. Let the viewers vote on both season 5's winner and an all-star to then play. I like that idea. Hopefully we get 5 seasons in so I can use it.